Savage Dragon 75 from May of 2000. This is a special double-sized issue and the finale to the End of the World trilogy, the final showdown between Dragon and Dark Lord. Dragon's got some blood on his hands here, with Smasher laying defeated in the background. Little silhouette of Dark Lord with Dragon pointing this gun right at him, about to splatter this kid's brains. Let's see how we get there. First, the credits. Our usual team of Larson, Eliopoulos, and Rude working on the main story, as well as a couple of backup features, while Josh Eckhorn has become comfortably numb. We open up with the boom. Looks like Larson didn't have to grab his pencil for this one, just giant lettering representing an explosion. So last issue left off with a cliffhanger. These two villains, Baby Boom, the Energy Baby, and Negate, who can remove superpowers, they were kidnapped by Dark Lord and strapped together on this contraption, combining their powers to form a negabomb. Pray tell, what is a negabomb? Let's find out. We instantly see that the effects are widespread in this double splash page at the epicenter of the explosion in downtown Chicago. So it's not knocking down any buildings, there's no gigantic fireball, but rather energy waves rippling through the city. Energy that has a very specific effect, removing the superpowers of anyone it touches. So Special Operations Strike Force, they were at ground zero. So we see here members of the SOS, like The Rock and Barbaric and She-Dragon, all revert to their mortal forms. Then on this next set of panels, the Vicious Circle Gang, they all change back into humans as well. Mako the Shark Man turns into this hairy schlub, almost like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. This is a really great gimmick on this double-page spread here. We got the characters that we're used to seeing in this blue and white sort of negative effect, and then we see what they look like as humans in the color panels here, and sometimes with comedic effect. So, like double header here, this double-headed villain turns into two separate dudes. What's the story there? Apparently, the Negabomb also transformed the dead, because we got the taxidermied head of the Chicago Bull on the wall at the Freak Outpost bar, and it's just a human head now. So a lot going on here on every inch of this comic. I've said in recent issues that there's been like a revelation or a surprise on every page, and now that frequency is increasing so that every panel is hugely consequential. Like this one. This Negabomb wasn't just limited to Chicago. The energy wave has rippled across the entire planet. So it's like a hugely chaotic event covered by all the news outlets as an emergency alert. This is like the biggest breaking news we've ever seen. But it interrupts the world premiere of Kill Cat the movie on TV. Kill Cat is bummed out because he had brought his friends to Vanguard's spaceship to have a watch party of the film. But now it turns out they may inadvertently be the last superpowered people on Earth because they weren't on the planet for the explosion. Also not affected by the explosion is Dragon or Dark Lord, or anyone inside the Covenant base. Dark Lord says that it has shields to protect them. This kid says a lot of stuff. Loves to hear himself talk, man. He has a whole monologue talking about how he's saving the world and that he knows best because he's a time-traveling, dimension-hopping, alternate reality savior, and only he can truly know what is best for everyone. And now he's cornered the market, he says, because the people inside this building are the only remaining superpowered beings on Earth. And except for Dragon, they all support the Dark Lord, including Dragon's son, Malcolm. It takes Dragon a while, but he finally gets around to talking to his son, who's been standing here since last issue, along with all these other little kids. And Dark Lord continues to debate the Dragon about his mission for the greater good. When Smasher comes busting through the wall, and almost out of her costume here, with an army of pregnant clones, and they proceed to beat the shit out of the Dragon. All the while, Jennifer is telling Dragon that, he's the villain here, and that she'll kill him before she lets him stop Dark Lord's plans. So Dragon finally submits, and he says he'll surrender, and he'll listen to what they have to say if they just stop trying to kill him. So meanwhile, on this next page here, Mako is pissed about losing his powers, and he goes to the police, and he's like, I used to work for the Covenant. I know where they're hiding out. I want let the police help me get revenge. So they're going to work together. Back at the Covenant base, Dragon is checking out the living situation, and everyone seems oddly happy here, including Dragon's daughter, Angel. She comes running up. She was taken away a few issues ago. There was like a court order sending her to live with her aunt and uncle, and so she was removed from Dragon's custody, but this was all apparently a ruse by the Covenant to return Angel to her mother. So Dragon is excited to see her. And then Rapture rolls up here with Malcolm and this other minor character, Lightning. A lot of this is just kind of tying up loose ends and questions that fans have been asking for a while. So we won't get into everything, but like I said earlier, it seems like every panel has some sort of revelation closing these plot holes or plot lines. But none of this eases the Dragon's suspicions, and he still believes that everyone is under the psychic control of the Dark Lord. And so the kid, Dark Lord, rolls up and he's like, man, you're paranoid. You know, I could have you killed at any moment here, but I don't. And that's when the cavalry arrives. Vanguard teleports a ragtag team of heroes and villains and police right into the Covenant base. And this splash page here, we got the Deadly Duo and Brute Force, all the heroes from the spaceship, plus Powerhouse, Officer Alex Wilde, and Mako. Mako, who just starts blasting, man. A firefight erupts. Guns are going off. Alex says that we can teleport everybody out of here right now. But Dragon says he can't leave all these kids here, plus the Mighty Man and Super Patriot are still prisoners. So he chases after Dark Lord while Jennifer tries to stop him. And the little squirt takes off down a hallway, which leads them right to this splash page, where there's an older version of Dark Lord here, and he's pissed off. He's like, you led them right to us, you idiot. So he's got Dragon's pals, Mighty Man and Super Patriot, chained up, and they're getting brainwashed. So Jennifer finally sees that she's been manipulated. And so Dark Lord fires his killer eye lasers at the Dragon, but Jennifer jumps in front and sacrifices herself to save him. So Dragon has to watch his wife die for a second time. Then more heroes show up somehow. Horridus, Hercules, and Zeke. Now you may be asking, how do these guys still have superpowers? So the Negabomb apparently only affects people who received their powers through unnatural means. So Horridus was born a spiky freak at birth. You know, Hercules was born a god. So was Zeke, apparently. So they didn't change at all because this is their natural state. The same could be said for like a space alien or something too. So this starts another scramble. Zeke gets killed by a blast right through the chest. Hercules is about to get choked out when Mighty Man finally wakes up and he chucks a javelin right through the heart of the older Dark Lord. But before he dies, he says, this changes nothing. And Dragon tells the others to leave because he's got unfinished business. He has to kill this little fucker. Tiny Dark Lord is cornered, and he's like, dude, don't do this. You're going to ruin everything. And Dragon says he'll live with it, and he crushes the little fucker's head with his bare hands, destroying reality as we know it, shattering the world around him in another wild-ass double-page splash, sending ripples through time and space in ways that we can't begin to fathom. The environment rearranging itself to this new reality, leaving Dragon once again in the middle of a baptism of fire. What a way to end this thing, man. One gut punch after another. So now everything's up in the air. Anything is possible. Who knows where this book will go? But I love this issue, man. But we have a lot more to cover. So much so that I'm just going to blow right past the letters page onto this incredible backup feature with artwork by Frank Fosco, Oh Deadly Dark Lord. This is the retro story of Super Tough and Young Tough and their classic battle with Dark Lord decades previously. So canonically, this takes place in the 80s, but it feels more like an earlier era with this like Kirby vibe and the old school sound effects. Expertly done. And the story's pretty compelling too, because you're learning more about these characters, and it's kind of informing and enhancing the modern day stuff. So Dark Lord wants to set off another bomb here, but he's stopped by Super Tough and Young Tough. But there's a second Dark Lord. You know, he's a time traveler, so he goes back and he sets off the bomb anyway, killing himself supposedly and super tough, but we know they end up in Dark World or whatever. But it also permanently scars young Tough. And I love that you see him kind of peeking out over the edge here and how he gets the scars that we saw way back in issue 16. Wait, where is that page at? Yeah. In issue 16, you kind of see the results of that Negabomb explosion. So, yeah, young Tough is hideously scarred, and therefore his application to Youngblood is rejected. You know, they're all about image over there, so they can't have an ugly team member. And this destroys young Tough. He becomes the violent criminal vigilante known as Mace. So let's go back to the story here in issue 16. Now, Mace had fought the Dragon while Dragon was on this like citywide rampage. Dragon was possessed by this leech and was murdering everyone. And so it wasn't until Mace was able to destroy the leech on the back of Dragon's neck there that the carnage was ended. But if baby Dark Lord was killed, then he was never able to go back in time to set off the explosion that disfigured Young Tough. So Young Tough was able to join Youngblood. He never became the vigilante Mace, and nobody was there in issue 16 to stop the Dragon. What else would happen? What else would change if this moment hadn't happened? You know, kind of wild stuff. So let's see. We also got a pinup by colorist Ruben Rude here, and then another backup feature by letterer Chris Eliopoulos, Yucky Food. This is the cartoon adventures of Little Dark Lord and Baby Dragon, a cutesy version of these kids traveling back in time to stop the creation of eggplants so they won't have to eat vegetables for dinner. Definitely a nice way to wrap up this comic on a lighter tone after murdering the entire planet in the main storyline. We got one more page of Chris Eliopoulos' Desperate Times. No Megaton Man or Brainbert in this issue, but this back cover is pretty excellent, showing off not just the next issue, but the next 4 issues. Really great way to highlight how this book is changing tone with an immediate old school sci-fi vibe to these things. You got like Attack of the 60-Foot Woman and Mind Slaves of the Brain Child. Feels like a Planet of the Apes sequel, especially the next issue, 76, our first steps in this bold new direction. Next week, we enter this savage world.